How many people live close to here? Like within a mile? So most of us are from outside the neighborhood, really. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. Coming here, like I didn't know who would be here. I didn't know if it would be like dozens of people from right around the neighborhood whose kids. How many people have kids who come here to this club? All right, so I was kind of not knowing what to expect. But one thing I was sure I didn't want to do was to be like the outside expert coming in to tell you what to do, and then like, you know, like thinking that I know all the answers. Because look at the state of our planet. It was all created by the experts telling us what to do and thinking that they knew all the answers. And we listened to them for a long time, and things got worse and worse. And there they are today, still up on TV, wearing their suits and ties, scientists and politicians and all these leaders. And the little secret that they're not telling us is that they're helpless and panicking, and they don't really know what to do, and that the world is falling apart around them just like it is around everybody else. And as a matter of fact, they don't know any better than we do what to do right now. But they need to think that they know, so they don't even admit that to themselves. They don't, and you can tell. Like you look on the TV and there's that guy, I don't care who it is, Mitt Romney or somebody, or any of these talking heads up there, and like you look at them and you're like, hold on, this guy doesn't actually know. He doesn't actually know. He's just pretending to himself. So I don't want to be in the same category as these guys who waltz right in here pretending that they know. So that's why my plan coming in here is I want to do this in a way where the collective intelligence of the group can come out, and I wanted to respond to the questions that are in people's hearts and on people's minds today and right here. And so I think I'm not going to make a speech right now, because like after all, like we're sitting in a circle, and why should I make a speech when there's 15 of us? So that's my vision for it. If that's okay with you guys, I'd like to just kind of put some things out there, and then like I do have a special gift when it works, when it operates, and so I might talk more than most people, but I want to hear. Maybe we can start just like maybe people can share your name, and we don't have to go in order, but whenever you feel moved, like your name and what brought you here today. Like people are busy, you know, and this is your evening, and here you are. So like, why? Why are you doing that? I used to teach at Penn State, and one time I was giving a talk. I was, you know, lecturing to the class, right? And it was about something horrifying. Maybe it was desertification, like something horrifying on the planet. And I looked around the room, and like half the class, they were, you know, maybe texting. Actually, that was before texting, but their eyes were glazed over. They weren't paying attention. I'm like, hold on. how many people in this room really don't give a shit, excuse my language, about global warming? You know, like maybe you think you should care about it, but to be honest with yourself, you just don't care. Raise your hand. And like half the class raised their hands. So I asked one guy, and this is what I just thought of right now, I asked one guy why he didn't care, and he said, you know, honestly, as long as I can get a Big Mac, Coke, and fries for under $5, I really don't care. And what he was saying really was, I don't believe things could be that bad because, look, the world is working as normal. I can still pull out my wallet. I can get my Big Mac, Coke, and fries. I can get in my car, go to the gas station. It looks fine. Looks fine to me. And what makes people have that urgency that you have, you know? One thing that I've been thinking, talking to Rafika, like you told me, you said something like half of the parents in this neighborhood don't know how to cook oatmeal. Maybe more than half, you know. And that, what's normal to them is so degraded, and people are so de-skilled. And but I think that it has to kind of hit home, you know, for people to start caring. And one way it can hit home is that things get so bad that you just basically can't live. And that's what we were talking about. Like, what's going to happen when they do double the income tax in Harrisburg, right? Like, have you guys been reading the news? Like, that's the plan, to pay off the debts that were caused by the thieves that, you know, the corrupted people who built the incinerator and all that stuff. Who's going to pay for that? People who, that extra $100, like, that's food in their, like, literally food. Like, I think that's going to make people care. And the other thing that makes people care, and I don't want to be like pontificating here, but like another thing that makes people care, I think, is when they get a glimpse of the way life could be, like how beautiful, how abundant, how joyful it could be, even like a tiny glimpse of it, then a degraded world doesn't seem so normal anymore. What was African American society like in the 1940s and the 1950s? And there's been, even though like there's been the whole civil rights movement since then, there's also been a tremendous impoverishment of like black communities, where in the 50s there were thousands of black-owned grocery stores. There were like black-owned businesses, black-owned insurance companies. Like there was an entire economy, and not just an economy, but also all the skills that went along with it, and the communities that went along with it, and people took care of each other. And even like literacy among African Americans was actually higher when they didn't even go to school. It wasn't just segregation. They didn't go to school in the 1920s and 1930s in most places. So, but their literacy rate was higher than it is today. And why was that? It's because they had families, they had mothers, you know, who taught them how to read, and they took care of each other. And so I think that, like it's kind of like you were saying, what needs to be rebuilt, it's not just a matter of making more money. Like the privilege isn't just a matter of money. It's not just a matter of paychecks, but it's also a matter of rebuilding. But I mean, I don't know, like, this is happening in the whole society, the destruction of community and people not taking care of each other anymore. And we've become a society where you have to have a paycheck. Otherwise, you starve, right? But it didn't used to be that way because people had community and took care of each other. And so I think that I mean, we can see the future that the powers that be have in store for us, which is more and more debt, more and more unemployment. It's not because they want to do that necessarily, but that's just the way the system works. And instead of petitioning for, like, I mean, at some point, people are going to realize that the answers aren't going to come from above, but we have to rebuild things ourselves. I'll tell you one thing that gives me hope. I'm corresponding with this activist in Congo, and her, Nima, her name is, and Congo is one of the scariest places on earth right now. It's the rape capital of the world, and the mining companies are cutting down rainforest and driving out the indigenous. It's bad. And anyway, so Nima, there's all these soldiers around, and one of the soldiers, like, her daughter went to the store, and like these soldiers like beat her up, basically. And it was just really outrageous, you know. And so instead of trying to get revenge, she decided that she was going to go to the army barracks and confront the soldier who did it with love, seeing him as her son too, and thinking, what happened to this young man that he would hit an innocent teenager? And what she's doing, actually, people get killed for that in Nigeria, in Congo. But the fact that she understands that this young man, I mean, he's probably 18 himself, and who knows what life was for him. And the fact that she understands that and isn't acting from hate, but is creating a situation where there can be forgiveness, like that's something that gave me hope. I feel huge hope just from seeing, like, the incredible human potential here. I mean, like you people, you care, you get it, you're intelligent, you're wise, like, you care, you know. It's and multiply this by thousands and millions, you know, like anything's possible. And what stops us? One thing that stops us is that we're accustomed to thinking in certain ways. And from those ways of thinking, nothing's possible. So, for example, from a certain way of thinking, like, you look at Harrisburg, and you look at the depths of the corruption in the city government, in the state government, institutionalized through all of the, you know, through I mean, and how protective the people in power are, that they don't want to get exposed. And Rafika's been telling me about some of the dirty underbelly of the state and city government. And like, how are you going to change those people? They have way more power, it would seem, than we do from that way of thinking. From that way of thinking, what does it matter if you pick up some litter when industrial corporations are dumping 1 million times that amount? What does it matter if you help a child, tutor a child and do better in school when the state is going to cut funding? And what does it matter if you ride your bike instead of driving when the oil companies and the automobile industry are building more roads? Like, what does it matter what you as one person do? What does it matter what we as a group do? From that point of view, you might as well not do anything. But that point of view is an illusion. That point of view says, what are you? You're this separate being, and there's a universe out there, and therefore, what you do doesn't matter, because you're just one little thing. And how much power do you have in this gigantic universe out there? But we're beginning to understand that that's not true, that everything you do is significant. And this is something that we can feel. like, the rational mind can't understand why it's significant, why it's important to do like those small, invisible, heroic things that everybody in this room probably does. Even if it's like to like pick up a lost puppy, or to hi, or to, to give directions to a stranger, or to do any of these things, to plant gardens with kids, Like the rational mind might say, well, so what? How's that going to help global warming? How's that going to help the situation in city government? How's that going to help 3 Mile Island, or whatever your issue is? The rational mind doesn't understand how these small acts can make any difference at all. But the non-rational mind, or the heart, understands that every act is significant. And I think that we're learning that when we bow into service to the call of the heart, or the call of spirit, or the call of God, or however it occurs to you, then miracles start happening. So it could be like, there's these gardens out there, that the kids are planting, and the mind says, well, hold on. What's the population of Harrisburg? How many hungry people are there? How big is that garden? Come on. It says, Rafika, that's not going to make a difference. Just a little garden. But you'll see that miracles will happen around that. Things that you couldn't have predicted, couldn't have planned, will happen around that. And so really, all that we have to do is something. Really. All we have to do is something. And so what is that something that we do? It's whatever kind of is there in front of us asking us to do something about it. And so that's why, because we're not powerful, in a way. We can make ourselves available to something greater than ourselves and become the instrument of something powerful. And in that way, we are powerful. In that way, we have more power than the President of the United States. But that's a different kind of power. It's not personal. And to access that power, we have to put ourselves in service to something that's calling us, or to something that's a vision that is beautiful to us. I don't know. Like personally, I've definitely gone through a lot of times when I wrestled with despair, just looking at how bad the situation is somewhere on the planet, and believing that anything I did wouldn't be enough because the problem is just too big, And a lot of people have probably been there. Yeah, and it's kind of a paradox. If everybody believes that, then no one does anything and it becomes true. But if everybody believes that they can do something about it, if everyone believes that their actions are significant, then they'll do the almost crazy things that are necessary. It's crazy to go out there and pick up those bottles. It's crazy to plant that little tiny garden out there when there's thousands of people being hungry. Like, anything worth doing on earth today is crazy. From that logic, from the logic of you're just one little person and nothing you do matters. But from the other logic of we're all connected, we're all one, everything I do has an effect on the universe. I don't know how, but it does. And everything happening in the universe is inside of me as well. From that logic, everything you do is really important, and you're powerful. And that's what I want to kind of just remind myself of and remind other people of, and ask that you remind me of it too when I forget it. Because this state of belief in our power is foreign to us growing up in this society. And we need help to do these things that are kind of crazy, but which actually aren't crazy. They're actually the most practical thing you can do. It's the only thing you can do, really. And they're fun, and you feel good. Yeah, and you end up being okay after all when you do those things. And so I guess the reason that I came here is because I want to lend some energy and to the projects that Rafika is working on, And we've talked about, well, the gardens and stuff like that. And some of you know that she has bigger plans than just those little gardens. And another idea that we talked about would be to implement a time bank locally. And so I was going to explain what a time bank is. And before I do that, I think I'm just going to kind of tell you where I'm coming from. The focus I kind of came in with, or the intention I came here tonight with, is really on the local level. Because, Rafika spoke very movingly about the situation here, like what happened to your grandson, the violence, the poverty, and I want to I guess I just want to put that out there that I'm not saying that the poverty in inner city Harrisburg is more important than global warming, but I also want to point out that it's not less important either.
They're related.
And they're related.
Everything counts.
That's right. And like you can even trace out what the relationship is. That you can only have the system that we have today if there's some people who are occupying that position of poverty. And if they are no longer in that state of poverty, then everything else is going to change too. So I guess I want to kind of gather ideas and people who are local, like really, really local to this neighborhood. The kids who are here every day and they have power hour where they improve their academic skills, and they're like, why do we have to do this? And the answer she gave is, well, because your test scores are too low. And if I were a child, I'd be like, well, why should my test scores be high? Like, it's not something that you can understand as well as you can understand food, having your hands in the soil, and food comes up, and you're growing that. Is that, in a way, like those little kids who are questioning, is it really useful for me to spend an hour doing my academic skills? They're questioning if that's useful. I think the kids are right. Because look at what's happening to so many people who are privileged, and they're going to school, and they're getting good grades, and then they go to college, and they finally graduate, and what do they have? They have $40,000 of debt and no job. And if they do get a job, it's very likely doing something that's contributing to the problem. They're, exploiting the lower classes, or they're exploiting the earth or something like that. And maybe these kids have some kind of wisdom, actually, that says, I want to participate in something that's meaningful. I want to get my hands in the dirt. I want to do real things. And that's it's kind of controversial for me to say that, because a lot of people are saying, well, the first priority is to make the kids stay in school and get good grades so that they outcompete the other kids who then won't be able to get jobs. My ex-wife's husband, there should be a word for that. But I wanted, yeah. No. Yeah. Is that like my ex-in-law or something? Anyway, he's, yeah.
Right.
He's a beautiful man, actually. What he does, he works at like this kind of juvenile delinquent center. So like kids who are like, just like, the worst of the worst, troublemakers, And his job, he's basically like the janitor or the custodian. And his job is to fix things. And things get broken all the time because those kids, they get mad, they smash something, there's broken doors, broken toilets, broken benches, broken everything. And the old custodian would just buy a new one. But Glenn, he fixes things and he enlists the kids to help him fix. Hey, you, come here, And he's like a big guy, and so they respect him, but he's got so much love. You don't see it right away, but he's got a rough exterior, but so much love. And so the kid helps, hey, hold this screwdriver here, do this, do that, hold this door. Can you handle that? It's pretty heavy, And so the kids are helping fix the place up. And so now they have an investment in it. And they're not going to let the other kids mess with it now because I helped fix it, right? And it was hard for them at the beginning to break into it. There was this metal bench, like the metal benches in a park, it was bent. Like some kid, I don't know how he bent it, but he bent it, right? So Glenn takes it, he puts it down, and he runs his truck back and forth over it, and all the kids are like getting interested, and so he uses really skillful methods to get the kids involved and get the kids interested. And yeah, that's another thing that gives me hope. And so my practical idea is, especially for those of you who don't have kids or your kids are already grown up, because if you have your own kids, then a lot of your attention is going to be on your own kids, But like Rafika was saying, no, it was Yvonne was saying, there are kids here who don't have a home, There are kids here whose parents are working 2 and 3 jobs, and they don't have any adults to give them attention and to give them love. What if we had some kind of way, some kind of program where people are getting involved in the lives of these kids somehow informally, and that could be connected to a time bank where you get time credits for doing that. And so let me explain what a time bank is. Because here in Harrisburg, there are a lot of unemployed people. They don't have a job, but they have skills, they have time, and they have a desire to be a good person. And at the same time, so there's a lot of people who have something to offer, and there's a lot of need that they could be doing something about. Money is supposed to connect these gifts with these needs, but it's not working because the money's not there. But people can create their own ways to connect gifts and needs. One of those ways is called a time bank. And basically what it is, it's usually you do it electronically, but you could even do it on a bulletin board in this community center. It's a list of offerings and a list of needs. And so if you have something to offer, say, I've got a lot of time on my hands, I can help babysit kids, or I can take dogs for a walk, or I can help you plant your garden, or I can do any service you need. Then someone would say, oh yeah, I need that. And so you do something for somebody, maybe you help them cut their lawn or something like that, and it takes an hour, so you get 1 hour of credit, and they get an hour debited from their account of hours. And now you have an hour. And maybe you can't afford a plumber, but someone on that list is making an offering of, I'm handy, I can help with plumbing. Oh, okay, that person comes to my house, helps me fix my toilet, and now he's got that. And it allows people to connect and to help each other. And so if you come to this Boys and Girls Club and volunteer and whatever you have to offer, whatever fun thing you can do with kids, maybe you're good with art and materials, and you do some kind of thing with them. Marie is involved in a time bank in Media PA. They're all over the country, you're right. They're well tested, and not only are they well tested and they work, they really work. This isn't some theory, okay? They really do get people together. I mean, you have to put energy into it. They don't happen by themselves, and some of them fail because there's not enough people really, committed to it. But a lot of them work too. And not only are they well tested, but they're also evolving, and new things are coming into them. And one of the most exciting developments is time banks that basically issue the time currency to volunteers and say, oh, you're doing this volunteer work? How many hours a week do you do it? Oh, well, here. And that's how the currency is issued into existence, which is very different than how the US dollar is issued into existence. You guys know how that happens. It's issued as debt. It's the bank lends somebody $1 million, and they have to pay $2 million back to the bank. And all money is issued that way, so there's never enough money. Scarcity is built into the system. The gentleman who said that there's an abundance of money actually maybe didn't understand the money system. Scarcity is built into the money system and creates increasing amounts of debt forever and ever and ever until everybody's enslaved to their debts, which is what's happening now. But so time banking is actually a different kind of money system that isn't based on debt and that's created by people themselves serving others. So it's almost the opposite of the kind of money system we have.
The really wonderful thing about it is that it levels.
Well, I do job starting 11 system or people.
Okay, where you gonna be, sir?
Newspaper, shredded paper. Famous.